All right, and welcome back to the cave. I'm Ryan Brady, and this is the Cam's Comic Show. Now, we've been working on our basic figure, and this is part 3 in that series. If you don't have a guy that looks like this, you missed 2 videos. Where have you been? You can go back to the first 2 videos, get caught up to speed, then come back, and we'll finish your character in this video. I want to thank everybody who's been watching and everybody who's been following along. It means a lot to me. I see you and I feel seen. All right, enough of that. Grab your paper, grab your pencils, and let's get drawing. Okay, so last time we drew this guy. We had our stick man and we added some shapes to him to kind of fill him out. This is what we ended up with. So I've taken the liberty of redrawing that in a light blue pencil, a non-photo blue pencil, just so it's easier to follow along. First 2 lessons, when we drew our figure, we were drawing him in sort of segments, like an action figure. You remember Blue Beetle? I'll bring Blue Beetle back out here. When we draw this character now, everything is going to be finalized. Everything is connected. So I want to just draw the arm very quickly, and I want to show you what I mean by that. I'm going to start at the neckline here, and I'm going to slope down to those shoulders and have that shoulder come in. There's the arm. And then here's our hand. Okay. Previously, when we drew our arm, it was a joint, a cylinder, a joint, a cylinder. Very action figure-y. You can see this new arm is, everything is connected because in our own bodies, everything is connected. Our muscle groups are all connected and they're pulling on each other at all times whenever we move our bodies. So we have to think about that. Our bodies are connected, and now we're going to start drawing these muscle groups. Now, relax. You don't have to have a medical degree. Nobody knows what these muscles are called. You only need to know a few to get by. And I'm going to show you some little bit of tricks. So let's start with this arm here. So just like when we had Blue Beetle, I'll grab Booster this time. Booster. Remember we talked about the arm being 3 components? Well, the same rules apply for this arm. So up here, there's this really big shoulder. This shoulder right here. Now the shoulder is actually 3 muscles, I believe. But we don't need to see all of that, because a lot of times we don't see the entire definition of the muscle, because we have skin, we have clothes, we have costumes over top of that. So you've got your shoulder here, then you have your upper arm, which is made of the bicep in the front here, and the triceps in the back. That's going to slope down. Then we have our forearm, which is kind of made up of these wiry muscles that wrap around the bone. Okay. So in step 3, we're finalizing everything. Everything is now connected, and we're doing a little bit of detail to show definition. Okay. Let's follow along. Let's do the other arm. So this neck slope here, I do know that's called the trapezius. The Flying Graysons were trapezius artists. Thank you. I'll be here all week. Okay. So we're going to do that shoulder. I'll do the outside of the shoulder, and I do a little piece inside. And I'm going to show you in a few seconds why we do that little piece. Down here, we have the bicep. For me, the bottom of the bicep sort of tucks into the forearm. And then we have those sloping muscles again, and extends. And now we're not cutting off, we're not leaving those hands disjointed. Those hands that we drew last time are part of it now. Okay, let's go up to the pecs. So we know the pecs. The pecs, where Booster Gold has his star, where Superman would have his logo, the pectoral muscles. Now we've got two, and you can see this line that we used in our very first drawing when we bisected our circles. We're gonna actually use that as the dividing line between our pecs. So we're gonna start, if you can see this crisscross right here, this axis right here, we're gonna put kind of a divot, and you can feel this on your own body if you touch beneath your chin here. On either side, we're gonna have lines extending out, and that's gonna be our collarbone or clavicle. Okay. Now, our pectorals are actually connected to our shoulders. And in this position, they would be kind of almost cut off in a way by our shoulders. So we're gonna have two pecs coming out from either side, and right when they meet at this line, we're gonna have them go up. Now, if you want, you can have the line coming down, separating them. But those are our pecs. I like to do a little cross hatching. Just to show that the shoulder's there. All right, let's hop back up here. So, again, we're gonna do heads later. I'll just leave this head here. Beneath the head, we kind of have this V shape. In our neck muscles. It's a really long name. Couldn't tell you what it is. Let's jump down to our torso. So right around here, we have that bell-shaped curve. This is sort of the sternum. And we can have muscles, these little muscle shapes here. And we're gonna slide down to our belt here. And this zone right here is where our person's abs would fall. Again, we're drawing an average superhero body, so abs. Now, an ab would look like this. It's a large kind of box plate. We're gonna give this guy a 4-pack. So it's sort of this box, but because it's a muscle, we're not gonna draw the whole thing, so you can just do sort of that one edge, the outline of it. Then the idea is you can go in here and erase. Okay, so this guy's looking pretty meaty. Now we're gonna jump down here to our underwear part that we had earlier. So when it comes to legs, the muscles in our legs are sort of teardrop shaped. So if you have one come down and it goes back up, one start here and oh, that might be too much, and it wraps upwards. And then we have a large one that kind of sits at the top. And again, it really depends on how defined you want to make your character. We're just swinging for the fences on this one. Ugh, this one bothers me. I'm gonna erase that. Okay. Then here is where we have our knee. So our knee is kind of coming out from between those two muscles here. And because it juts out, the bottom will be shaded. Okay. For the bottom of our leg, our calf muscle, we have kind of rounded on the outside. And we have that muscle cut in. Large muscle here, you have muscles going down. For our feet, we're gonna have those ankle bones are gonna jut. And then when I do a foot, I'll have the back heel where it slopes in and slopes back out. Jump to the other side, we're gonna have our teardrop shaped muscles again. Have our calf muscles or ankle bones. Those are obliques. Okay, so we've gone through, we've made this guy connected and pretty muscular. So at this point is where you could get to go in and you could start to add your costume, assuming this guy has a costume. So let's say we were doing a character, he's got a cool logo on his chest. Start to add that logo. Maybe he has a belt. And he's a really cool guy, so he wears his underwear on his outside. Say he has gloves. Put those, just those lines. And you'll notice because human bodies aren't flat, when we do glove lines, when we do belts, they're not just straight lines, they're rounded because they're going around the cylinder that is our arm. Give him some cool boots. Again, rounded line because it's going around a cylinder. And that is how we draw a figure. So we went from this to this to that. Now, obviously, it doesn't take me 3 weeks to draw a guy, and it won't take you 3 weeks to draw a guy now that you have the tools. Again, we left heads off because I like to draw heads on a separate piece of paper. Should we just do heads right now? All right. I was planning on doing a head video by itself, but I mean, that would be a smart thing to do to give me more content, but I don't really care about content, and I'd rather just you guys know how to draw heads. So we're gonna put this guy over here for now. I'm gonna zoom in, but you can use this to draw a head on your guy. So start with heads. Just like most things, we're gonna start with a circle, or at least half of one. Next, we're gonna give a chin shape. So a chin shape can be kind of a square jaw like Superman or Captain America. It can be more angular like a Spider-Man. It is really your preference. Okay. Now that we have that, we're going to bisect it, which we know means draw a line through. We're going to bisect it horizontally, and we're going to bisect it vertically. So it looks like that. Okay. So now I'm going to start to use my number 2 pencil. So this line that we just made, this here, is our character's eye line. And that means it's where the eyes fall. So we can just do 2 ovals right there. Now we have eyes. Now the cool thing about our heads is that there are rules to our heads. You can look in the mirror, check this out for yourself. So typically the top of your ear is going to fall on your eye line, and it's going to descend the side. So let's give our character some ears. And ears can just be a heart, you know, cut in half. Could be the letter C kind of. Could be a box. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create an imaginary line connecting the bottom of our ears. We're going to call this our ear line. All right. Another rule is that your nose is going to fall on that ear line. So for our nose, we're going to start by putting a circle. Okay. Now we're going to follow the curve of the bottom of the circle, and we're going to make sort of a little U shape. And then we're going to put some nostrils on either side of that U shape we made. You can add a bridge if you'd like. It's easy nose. Okay. Now we can start to look at our head here. Maybe we want to bring the chin down a little more, because between our chin and our nose is our mouth. That's right. You're pretty good at this. All right, so here's a rule for a mouth. You put the dot between the eyes, and you're going to draw an imaginary line on either side, and it's going to touch the edge of that nose, and that is about the width of your mouth. So I'm just going to give this guy an upper lip. I'm going to give him a bottom lip. Notice how it's not really connected, just kind of sitting there. All right, so let's come in here. I'm going to start to darken what I have here. Okay, here's my nose. Here's my mouth. I feel like I made him a little bit too unhappy, so I'm gonna clean him up. Give him more of a smirk. And then again, that bottom lip is sitting here, not really connected. Typically when I draw male characters, I don't really connect their lips. You can just do a shaded upper lip, leave the bottom lip down there. Okay. Let's talk about ears again real quick. So the inside of an ear, it's best just to look at a mirror or at a picture, but here we go. So first, we're going to start about halfway out. We're going to slope along the inside of that ear, come down, and we're going to have that little flap. What is it called? I don't know. It's where the Q-tip goes. Now inside, you have another piece, and it starts wide here, and then it goes down into there. The human ear. Okay. Let's talk about these eyes that we have here. So for an eye, there's lots of different eye shapes. There's no right or wrong eye shape. It really depends on what kind of character you're doing, based on, what you want it to look like. But typically, if you want to just do an eye, you can do kind of a rounded box. You could do an oval shape or an almond shape. You could do an oval and then just darken the top line. It's really what you want to do, what works best for your character. So I'll just do a quick box shape. Now, the fun thing about eyes is that if you draw one really well, you're not going to draw the second one as good. And that's just part of being an artist. So here we go. Okay, so we've got that eye shape. Now we're going to jump in to the eye. We're going to get lost in the eyes. We're going to add the iris. So, because our lids are always obscuring our eyeballs, we're not going to have a perfect circle. We're going to see the side of the iris, but we're not going to see the top or bottom. The iris is the colored part of your eye. So if you look, that's how you say, oh, I have brown eyes, I have blue eyes. That's your iris you're talking about. Now the pupil is that little black part inside in the very center. So when I do pupils, I like to do little half moons because our eyes are always wet. And because they're always wet, they're always reflecting light. So we do little half moons. Okay, let's go up and we'll do some eyebrows. Again, no right or wrong eyebrows. Eyebrows, you can have thick eyebrows, bushy eyebrows. Eyebrows are really useful when we're drawing because they can show expression. And when you're telling a story through pictures that aren't moving, you want to use a lot of expression, a lot of exaggeration. That's the fun part. So we gave our guys some bushy eyebrows. Okay, so let's talk about hair. So I'm sure we've all played with Legos. We have the minifigures. So a minifigure, it has that head with the stud and then a hair piece. And what does it do? It just clicks on. It's a single piece. We don't see individual follicles of hair. We don't see the individual hairs. So I want you to think of it like a Lego piece. So what kind of hair should this guy have? I guess let's give him some Booster Gold hair, you know? So you see that guy's he's got a part. So when it comes to drawing hair, just like the Lego minifigure, we're gonna only focus on 2 parameters, and we're gonna make it first appear like it's just one piece just being clicked on. So the first parameter that we're gonna set for ourselves is the hairline, where it falls on the head. So we've got that hard part. So it starts here, and it's gonna extend like this, and it goes up and it comes down here. Okay. And maybe it comes this way. Okay, so that's the first parameter, where it falls on the head. Now the second parameter is how far it extends off the head. So we're gonna say it goes up here, and you know, it's kind of gets a little bit wild. This is where our part is, and then it's gonna part this way, come down and go behind the ears. And wham, through the power of magic, I've already completed the hair. I had a little technical error there, so I apologize. So as I was saying, we're gonna start adding detail at the part, because we know the hair is gonna come out and go this way, hair is gonna come out and go the opposite way, and because it's the part, the hair is darkest at the root, we're gonna follow that around. And then we can follow some strands around. You can show highlight. But we don't want to draw every individual hair, because if you are drawing this guy in a comic book, you know, you're going to draw him 30 plus times. You don't want to waste your time just drawing hair. Some things to know about the face. So when it comes to characters, especially faces, less is more. So right now, this guy doesn't have too much on his face. So he looks like, could be a young guy. An adult, but a younger adult. But the more detail we add, we can certainly age him up. So if we add a bridge, if we want to add even more detail, if we want to age him up even more, we're going to start to add lines where wrinkles would start to appear. So beneath the eyes, around the nose, maybe he's got smile lines, maybe right here, the chin pulls, and you can see he's already starting to age. We want to go even more. We want to give the almost like a bag under the eye. We want to make those longer, more defined. He's starting to get more and more aged, which is fine. Just be aware that the more detail you put definitely can change how a character is perceived. And there we have it. Our series is done. You have all the tools you need to start drawing your own characters, at least in this position. Definitely try to go back to the first video with the construction lines, try different poses, and try to work it out and get to this level with those poses. Thank you guys for joining me on this series. It was fun. I hope you liked it. If you did like it, feel free to go Death Star on the subscribe button, like Alderaan. And if you are curious and want more drawing videos, please leave a comment and ask me, what we should do next. All right, thanks guys. And as always, until next time, keep making comics.